Maritime death claims are among the most complex in the maritime law. It's a patchwork of federal statutes, common law claims, even state statutory wrongful death claims. Now, the General Maritime law non-statutory claim for wrongful death didn't come around until 1970. Believe it or not, at common law, there was no claim for wrongful death. You could recover for an injury, but if the injury resulted in death, there could be no recovery. Under common law, your whole estate went to the king, and therefore there was no basis for your family to recover. So this changed around the turn of the century. It starts with some state statutes for wrongful death, and then the Jones Act and the Death on the High Seas Act both supplied statutory causes of action in certain situations. But whether or not you can recover for wrongful death would hinge on where the accident happened and where you were working, what your status is. Were you a longshoreman or a Jones Act seaman? So it could be problematic, and there were some that were left without recovery. From the passage of the Jones Act until 1970, so about a 50-year period there was no common law claim under General Maritime law for wrongful death. So injured seamen could recover, or the families of injured seamen could recover for wrongful death, no matter where the injury occurred, but that claim was against their employer. We also have state wrongful death statutes, but those only applied to their territorial waters. And finally, we had the DOHSA, Death on the High Seas Act, that would cover deaths occurring on the high seas. So we were left with certain situations where, for state statutes that didn't provide a cause of action, if you were deaths in territorial waters, there was no remedy. And the Supreme Court sought to fix this and basically fill in the remaining gaps. In the case of Moragne is the name of the case. And in that case, the Supreme Court said, we're going to overturn the maritime common law, which said that there was no remedy for wrongful death. So in 1970, the Supreme Court hands down the Moragne decision. It actually involved a longshoreman who was killed in the territorial waters of the state of Florida. Since the state of Florida ruled that there was no unseaworthiness cause of action for wrongful death, this widow was out of luck. And the Supreme Court said that's not fair. We're going to fix this anomaly where if you lose a loved one in the wrong place. So the Supreme Court issues its decision, and we have what's called a non-statutory General Maritime law claim for wrongful death. The Moragne court, however, did not set forth what damages could be recovered on this new non-statutory General Maritime law cause of action. So 4 years later, the Supreme Court steps in and hands down its opinion in the Gaudet case. In Gaudet, similar situation. You have a widow of a longshoreman who has lost her husband in the territorial waters. And so the Supreme Court takes this opportunity to set forth the damages that are recoverable. The damages that are recoverable on the General Maritime law wrongful death claim are the loss of earnings that the decedent would have had during his lifetime, the loss of domestic services. We also have a loss of society claim and funeral expenses. This is commonly referred to as the Moragne-Gaudet wrongful death, and it's named after these two Supreme Court cases that set forth what the damages are and basically gave rise to the wrongful death cause of action under General Maritime law.